If you Google the term music theory and do an image search, most of what you'll see are pictures of key signatures and staff lines and basically notation, 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 which is too bad because music notation is not music theory, not really. So let me explain. Back in the day, notation was designed for one thing: to facilitate performance, to help people know how to play music, not to understand why the music works in the first place. And it was only later that notation was awkwardly retrofitted by musicians in an attempt to illustrate theory by adding more and more symbols. Although it didn't really work. Because here's the thing, the term music theory means to see sound. The word theory comes from the Greek theoria, which means to look at, view, or see. And since music is formed by inherently cyclical and symmetrical patterns, the most direct way to view it is by using the natural patterns of sight, color, to see these natural patterns of sound, music. Traditional notation, in contrast, is just a medieval man-made system of blotches and squiggles meant to aid performance. A linear system of symbols that looks more like Braille for the blind than a clear picture of how music really works. To show you what I mean, here are a few patterns as they actually appear in music theory, next to their distorted depictions in traditional notation. So for example, here's the chromatic scale in both music theory and notation, with all of the geometric harmonic connections between notes, in music theory anyway, although these relationships are obscured in traditional notation. And here's how the chromatic scale is related to the circle of fifths, again, only in music theory since you can't actually see this connection in notation. Here we have the major scale in the key of C with all of the special harmonic relationships between notes, which again don't show up in notation. And here's the same major scale pattern in each key, which you can see is the same, is symmetrical in music theory itself, though in notation a lot of extra symbols are required since the uniform black dots don't convey enough information to do that on their own. And then we have some parallel modes in music theory. In notation, the link between these patterns is basically obscured. And here are some chords that look very different in each of these formats. And then here's the circle of fifths, which shows how all of the keys and modes are symmetrical and equal in music theory, while in notation it's just shown as a ring of key signatures that appear asymmetrical and abstruse. So music theory gives you a clear picture of how music really works, while traditional notation is just glorified Braille.